Good evening, friends, and thank you for joining us tonight as we honor our dear friend and Guru Bhai Anandi and help send her on her way into her new home with our love and our blessings. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Beloved Lord, beloved Swamiji and Master, we offer our dear friend Anandi into your loving arms. Receive her, guide her into her new home and this new chapter of her life. Let her know of our love and our desire for her soul freedom. Bless her with your grace. Fill her with your joy and embrace her with your love. Om. Peace. Amen. I'll now invite the singers to offer some music, and then we'll have a brief meditation followed by a talk by Bharat, Nayaswami Bharat.
Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere, love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be gay. Often on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions defy. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar, it can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Love is a star, though shining afar, it can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Though green summer fade and winter draw near, my Lord, in your presence I live without fear. Through tempest, through snows, through turbulent tide, the touch of your hand is my strength and my guide. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. The dancers will pass, the singing must end. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend.
It was my great honor to spend so many years with Anandi, but so many of us had that honor too. We grew up spiritually with Swami Kriyananda and with Anandi. You know, Anandi received her first marriage proposal when she was 6.5 years old. She declined all of them. And she thought marriage would be boring, like a married life. And as she finally came to Ananda, she really realized what she wanted. There were two desires in her life. And the first one was to know God and to share God's love with others. And then the other desire that she had was to serve Master and Swamiji's work and themselves to the greatest of her ability, to every ounce of her energy. And living with a person like that, of course, sets a wonderful example for us all. And that's all she did. And I know that that's something that so many of us have done, because we know that that's the path to freedom. You know, the great masters and our Guru and Swami, they all created a roadway to higher realms, to all the way to the infinite. And all we have to do is follow that pathway. And many of our fellow devotees have followed that pathway, and we can feel them from the other side. Well, everything I saw Anandi do in her interests is to follow that pathway. That was her only desire in life. And it was so beautiful to see and to feel that commitment. And, you know, she served very humbly. And there's a principle in dog sleds where you have the lead dog who is pulling the rope and knows where to go and that. But the lead dog can't really turn the whole team unless there's dogs that are called the swing dogs. And these are the dogs just behind the leader. And when the leader wants to go a certain direction, the swing dogs are so in tune with the leader that they turn with the leader, and that allows the whole sled to turn. Well, Swami Kriyananda is a man of tremendous vision and ability and love and attunement with Master, and through them the power of the universe. And he's accomplished so many things, but he's needed help, hasn't he? He's needed a lot of swing dogs, because Swami has created so many different avenues for finding God and reaching out to people so that they can feel God. And although Anandi was a capable leader and often demonstrated that, she wasn't just passive or just a follower. She was, in terms of following the highest. But sometimes she was put in a role where she really had to do something and lead the energy. But you wouldn't really know it just by the way she talked or thought about things. For many years, she was, I don't think she had a managerial position that I'm aware of at Expanding Light. She had sort of a rover position. And whenever a difficult situation came up, often, very often, Anandi was chosen to talk to that staff member, or maybe a particular, as Jai would say, interesting guests. And Anandi would talk to them, and her heart was just so full of love. And she was very authentic and unassuming. And she would share that love, and people could feel that that was a true love to them. And they would respond, and often the situation would change. But Anandi just thought afterwards, she would say, boy, what a fine soul that is. They have so many sterling qualities, and they're just so full of love. And they are. We're all made, with God's love and an expression of God's love. But sometimes, as Master said, we might be misbehaving a little bit, and we grow into it as we become wiser. But Anandi never saw that she instigated that in some small way. It was always the sterling quality of the other individual. It was God loving God, God sharing God with each other. And that was what was so, so beautiful about her. She was so gentle and unassuming, but also she had really a tremendous strength. So many people, we've received over 500 letters from people just recently. It's well over 700 if you include the emails, and maybe even 1,000. But so many people talked about that she said something to them that was so straight on the point that they were following a path of delusion that was going to end up in a disaster in some way. And they had trust in her. And she could say it, and she spoke it, and they said kept it from a big disaster just because she could share that. And so many people said that they were just so attracted to her when they first came because she was so authentic and about the path, her struggles, how she learned different spiritual principles. She was just very real. And people said that they could relate to that. And I can do it too. And so many people, they said they became lifelong Kriya bonds and became open to Swami through their great appreciation for Anandi. There's one Kriya bonds with us a long time, is Lettuce Center. And when she first came, or when he first came, there's a lot of center leaders, so I could say a he. But he really was struck by, impressed by Anandi. But when he heard Swamiji speak, Swami's a confident individual. And he says things strongly, gently, and in tune with the people he's speaking with. But it was a little too much for this individual. But then this individual, I guess he had another class or meeting with Anandi in some class format, and Swami expressed so much reverence and love for Swami that he said, well, if Anandi, who I admire so much, reveres this man, there must be something to it. Let me explore this. And then he became, a lifelong follower and great guru bhai to all of us. And it's just, I don't know, sometimes she had just a way of just being really with people right from the beginning. And it was very approachable. It was easy to get started. They loved the clarity of the way that she spoke of things. And so they knew that there was depth. But they knew that it was possible for them too. And, both Devi and Jyotish, they reach out to people to wherever they are, and you get around the goodness of Swami when we knew him, and you feel your own potential. So it's a universal quality. It wasn't just Anandi, but it was the way that she operated. And it was really a particular strength of hers, that she could talk to anyone. And even if it wasn't about spiritual principles, she was so kind with people. I just called her brother, who might be listening tonight. He's a doctor in St. Louis. Wonderful, Illinois now, but wonderful man, full of integrity, treats his patients just so well. But he told me that he spent his whole life with his medical practice. But when he grew up with Anandi, and then they left for college, they went their separate ways and stayed in touch, but across the country. And they had children, and we didn't have children, maybe not as much as in common, but many phone calls. But he said, I've spent my whole life with my medical career, but I know Nandi knows something. And I really trust that. And I got so much when we were growing up. And I want to read her book. Does she have a book that she's written? And so probably her book will be How to Find Happiness. And then he wants to listen to some of her sermons. As we all know, we don't call them sermons, that seems too dry. But her spiritual talks, they're so fresh and alive and accessible for everyone. Over and over again, people say that. And she would go through the principles and the stories and build the momentum. And it was always fun to sit over here and just know that a punchline was coming that was going to be memorable, and just bring it home. In a horse race, one of the horses, the leaders, may be handicapped a little bit, but you know that they're going to win if they're a really good horse. Nandi was never handicapped because she really worked at letting God flow through her as much as possible. She just got out of her mind, and she really worked on that and was working on that to try to perfect that. Anyway, the horse came through, but my Anandi's brother wants to hear her talks now, and I've heard of people creating a playlist. Darshana, who we all know and love, when her husband died of cancer not too long ago, she created a playlist, all of Anandi's sermons, just so she could listen to them over and over and over again. And we don't want to compare ministers and that. We don't. We have so many fine, excellent speakers. I've traveled the world, and the speakers here are just leagues above how other people talk generally. I mean, I haven't heard the Dalai Lama speak, so there are great souls out there. But so I'm not trying to say Nandi's special over anybody else, but there was a quality, a universal quality that was so accessible, so drew people in, so clear. And then she was able to put it in a way that was so memorable that it stuck with your consciousness. But she didn't think anything about that. That was one of her services. She didn't identify herself as the doer. I don't think I've ever heard that. It was just always something that happened through her. And so it was really remarkable. And as a person trying to be a better devotee themselves, I sure learned an awful lot from Anandi just watching her go through life. When we first got married, humor is an important part of marriage. I know Jyotish and Devi in their marriage classes have said that, and you have to genuinely like each other. And is an important quality for a successful marriage. And so I was actually, Anandi didn't propose to me, or I didn't propose to Anandi, she proposed to me. She thought enough time had passed, we should get married. So we did. And, but I was a single monk, and you're a little bit in your own world, especially maybe as a man and that. And what she said about Bharat, me, she had a nice way of saying everything. She said, Bharat, you're very impersonal until sometimes it concerns yourself. And, but it was just perfect. And the way she said it, I go, yeah, that made common sense. And she always loved harmony and love. She had always, that was the baseline. It was like, she would never go beneath that. We just kept that in our marriage, and it made it such a beautiful time together. I think the meanest thing I ever said to Anandi, we were going to the seminar, and it was just, I can't even remember any arguments we have. I'm sure if Anandi was here, she might remember more maybe, but I just can't recall that. But there was one, we were having a little tiff on the way to the seminar, and I thought Anandi was misbehaving a little bit, and the meanest thing that I ever said in our marriage together was, "You're no fun to go to the movies with." And but there just wasn't that descending below love and harmony. It was just there all the time, and you get a little out of alignment with it, and then you go back, into it. You don't cross it. And where does that come from? That comes from loving God alone and forgetting about everything else. And not everybody here is married. I'm finding myself a position of not being married anymore, and we have a lot of renunciates in the community. But we all have relationships. And the same principles, they apply, don't they? And I was thinking of truth. Swami talks about in honesty and truth are so important, because if you listen to truth and you act by truth, then you never get into trouble. It's that when that little bit of dishonesty or misrepresenting something and you fudge it, then that's when you fall out of attunement. And your master talked about, he was trying to create a community, but couples would support each other, and even in their errors. And there was a time I was going through a life-threatening illness some time ago, and it was a grueling affair. And I wasn't the most positive person. I wasn't the poster boy for learning how to deal with illnesses. And so Swami called Anandi and then related that information to me, and I could hear it. And but Anandi always stuck to the truth, no matter what, me, anybody else. It was always the truth was on the pedestal. And to live with someone like that, can't you trust somebody that always follows the truth? I mean, I don't want to make myself sound like I was totally incompetent, because I participated and I learned and contributed. But we're talking about Anandi tonight and her amazing qualities. And it was always and only the truth mattered in any situation. And of course, what is the highest truth? Well, you could say many things. You could say that everyone's a divine child of God that's worthy of our love for them. And that was one of her truths that she actively worked on and expressed. And I think that's why so many people were open to her, because they felt that genuineness. And they responded in like manner because there was trust there. And there are so many other things one could speak of, but if one honors that, then the whole world opens up. The whole, as the song says, the whole world becomes your friend, because you really feel a friend, a divine friendship with everything in creation, and the world responds back. And that's the beauty of a life that's lived only for God. We know that, and we're all doing that as best our ability, even beyond our ability, because we're getting help by Master and Swami. I talked to so many people who have felt that Anandi's in the light and she's pulling them along and actively. And we've had other members that have gone to the other side and have energetically helped us along. There's a comment by Master who he says, he called this, well, I'll just read it because it explains it at the end. It's only 2 sentences. Give me thyself, that I may give thee to all. That, he concluded, is the highest prayer. And so as we follow our pathway that we've been given by our great masters, and they've promised us eternity, and they're helping us, they're pulling us along. All of us have times where there's been a great challenge in our lives, and I know I should probably talk a little bit about Anandi's passing. I think much is known, but it was an extremely fast-acting cancer, but one that was extremely widespread. And she, months before, it came on strong a few days before Thanksgiving. But it had been around a while, and it had been in a lot of places in her body. They just didn't want to biopsy all those places because she couldn't take it. And she was trying to do her work. And, she had to step back from working full-time. She didn't think she earned her keep, and it wasn't fair to the community. But she just kept trying to do everything. And then you find out that she had this incredibly aggressive cancer going the whole time. During this time when she thought, well, I got to use my will more. I got to apply myself more. She wasn't guilty or anything, but she was just trying to hold her own, her weight, her responsibilities. And I thought a lot about that. And a lot of times we assume something, and we know we're supposed to use our will and our love and give our whole heart to God, and to, as a master said, to be in tune with me, serve my work. But there are different ways of serving the work, isn't it? One is seeing God above everything else, no matter what happens to us, and being anchored in that. I mean, that's probably the highest work that we can do, because we're transcending the physical reality. And so, anyway, that after a while it became very evident it was much more than the stomach flu that was first predicted. And she didn't have any pain medication, so to speak, but she was always kind. Even the smallest little thing. I had the great fortune for 5 weeks to take care of her 24/7. And she was in pain, but she was just so kind and so cooperative. And she could speak some, and she spoke about how much she loved everyone at Ananda, so much. She couldn't write an individual letter, for a little Christmas gift, she could sign her name. And I thought it was only going to be able to be once that she could do it, and I'd have to photocopy it. But she was able to sign her name, first name, Anandi, 15 times, and that was it for the day. But she never did get a chance to write that letter. But so many people are feeling her response, inwardly. So many people have told me that. And for those that wrote letters, we said she's not going to be able to read them too much longer. And so please write. And unfortunately, things happened. They predicted that she would be in hospice for a month to 2 months. She felt like it was much sooner than that, even before they took the tests. And she had her eye on the exit door. And she just was at 2 days in hospice, and she just went like that. But she treasured. I couldn't read every letter, but I summed many up, and she'd just have a real bright smile when she was awake. She was sleeping mostly, maybe 22 hours a day. She would wake up a little bit, but you knew where her heart was. But where her heart was the most, which was so inspiring, or where her actions went the most, is that she just withdraw completely. And she was just focused inwardly. And that's where she wanted to go. And we had many dear friends that, we wanted to see her. And we just couldn't at that time because she was on that road that Master's talking about, of just leaving the physical, the astral, and hopefully the causal all the way. And so even myself, I took care of her, for 5 weeks, and it was just such a joy to do so. And I was feeling a real blessing. I know I had a conversation with Devi. She was in seclusion, taking walks, and she's a dear friend of Anandi, as she is to so many, all of us in the community. And she was feeling Anandi going. But she was feeling this joy. Of course, how could you not feel joy when you're merging back into God? And I remember having meditation, and then I was just helping Anandi. It took about 4 hours to get going in the morning and get fed. And I was just feeling so much joy. And Devi and I, if I remember this accurately, we sort of thought it's sort of, funny is the wrong word, but it's sort of poignant that devotees are learning to be compassionate. And here you're feeling so much joy about a soul that's dying. But we know that's not true. That soul is becoming alive, and we both knew that. And I think that, that's just a good concept to leave, is that she's with the Masters now, and, after that struggle, belabored breathing that she had for a while, and that was a challenge for her, because she didn't really get the kind of help that could kind of smooth that. I saw her a minute after she had died, and hour afterwards, her face was just in a beautiful smile, and the whole face, many of you saw it yesterday, was just so serene and at peace. And it felt like just in that short period, less than an hour, she had transitioned all the way, or at least a long way, where bliss prevails. And so it was, her passing was amazing, and instructive. Her life was so beautiful, because it was so single-pointed in terms of what really counts in life, of giving yourself wholly to God and wholly to your spiritual teacher's work, and not letting anything interfere with that. And I think that's the secret for all of us on the path. We know that because we're acting that way. in all our efforts and giving ourselves this way. But sometimes it's nice to have examples of if you're running a race and you're doing well, to see someone, cross the finish line. And we know that the finish line is up there too. And we can reach that line. Our friend did it, and we feel close to that friend. They're friends like us, and we can cross that line too. And so there's many things to say. I think I'll end. Can I end with a fun story about marriage should be fun? I think I will. I wanted to make this poignant and instructive, but I think joy has many ways of expressing itself. And Swami read P.G. Woodhouse to us, and joy is it's maybe a shorter expression of full bliss. But when you have joy, you have freedom. You have delight in each other. And this is a strange thing to end a talk on, but I will. I was in South America on a lecture. Should I talk louder, Jaya, or am I doing okay? Okay. I was giving a series of lectures in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And as I was there, it was this very wealthy home that was sponsors. They had a courtyard, outdoor courtyard, inside the house, wing, and they had a bell in my room. I wasn't a hotel, but it was a nice guest room. And in the bell was a very special bell that I particularly became enamored with. Because when you rang this bell, then the servant girl would come running with fresh squeezed guava and cut papaya and mango. And I thought that was pretty nice. And it was very tasty. And so I was calling Anandi from South America, and I asked her, and she was in North America at Ananda Village, and I said, "Do you think that this bell would work in North America?" And she assured me it would not. So the bell was put away. I never used it because it wouldn't work. Well, when Anandi became ill, she needed attention, and we have a small house, but she needed to wake me up. So for 5 weeks, 24/7, I wasn't asleep all the time, but many times I was tired because my day started at 4 and went to 8 p.m. I'd hear this. And so I'd come running to the bell. And so it reminded me of Swami's story about not being too excited about things, and like motorhomes and things like that. And so anyway, I got the karma of enjoying the bell. And maybe this isn't the most meaningful story that I could end with, but it was just a joyous expression of, for us, two souls that really enjoyed each other and the give and take and finding joy in the ridiculous of life. And I think that means seeing life in a free way. And when you live for God and nothing else matters but God, then everything just falls away in importance. It's just not that important, as Swami's father said. And so we know there's so much more freedom, complete freedom, when we give ourselves totally to God. And if there are any areas that haven't quite given ourselves, God steps in because he knows the sincerity of our heart, and that's where we want to go, and that's where he will take us. And he'll take us all relatively soon, and we'll be together, and we'll be on the other side. And as Master's prayer said, we can give God to all. And isn't that the greatest joy, where it's not us giving that joy, but we're just living in a sea of joy. And we see that joy all around us. And so much of Ananda, is that joy. I've just been taken care of, during Anandi's passing with meals, and people at the drop of the hat are willing to do something. And it's just comes deep from the heart, and appreciation for Anandi. And Devi and Jyotish said they've traveled a lot and they haven't seen an ashram like Ananda. Sure, there may be Tibetan monasteries, a lot of great souls in this world, but to live more and more in this love and of giving. We have a member, most of us know, he helped build this temple, and he fell, and it took a lot of health work to bring him back. And he smiled at me just a few weeks ago, and he said, now it's my time to give back to others. And it's such a beautiful exchange where we just are always helping each other and feeling God in each other and sharing God in each other and helping each of us come back to God. And bless you all. And forever, I haven't really thanked everyone that's online. I apologize, because I know your heart has gone out to Anandi in a beautiful way. And I want you to know that that's what she wanted. She passed very, very quickly into the arms of Master and all our gurus. And there was just such a bliss on her face afterwards. And so we're the ones that are working for that same state that will come to us. And she is there already, as all our other ones that have followed on are helping us, and especially our masters, they will lead us there. So it's not, Jyotish and Devi asked after Anandi passed, how was I doing? And I said, Anandi got 100% of what she wanted. And I said, well, I got 98% of what I wanted, because there was still a little human part. And sometimes I'll look around and Anandi's not there. But we had this beautiful meditation just after her passing. And it was 100%, because I could just feel her soul freedom. And it was very real. And when we think of it that way, it is a victorious life. And this is all that we want for each other, isn't it? And so all we have to do is to, follow the road, the path further. We experience Spirit more and more strongly. We have more confidence in Spirit that this physical world is not the reality. We feel greater and greater sense of freedom, and we trust in that. And then we see our friends go with such joy and bliss, and we touch that, and we just gain more and more confidence, don't we? And then we can share that with other people who are holding on, maybe outside of Ananda, just our whole manner, way of being. So, all dear friends that are here in the temple, and the maybe hundreds more that are listening online, let's all give our hearts more and more to God as much as we can, and just continue and to go deeper and deeper in God's reality, and we'll sense a greater freedom, a greater sense of joy, and nothing can touch us when we're in the consciousness of God. And we'll be able to truly then help other people in their path. Bless you all.
That talk was a gift to all of us, not just what you said, but that you could stand up at this point in your life and speak like that. I'll never forget it. Thank you. So now we'll have a time, we don't have a date set, but a memorial time when we can all come and share some story about Anandi. And people are already sending in things from around the world that they wanted to share. So we'll set a time, but for now we'll just go into the Astral Ascension. And I'll share this one little thing. Anandi and I were both born in St. Louis, Missouri, and we lived about a mile from each other, but we didn't know each other. We both had to travel 2,500 miles, and we met at Ananda, and that's where our friendship developed. And now I sort of feel, okay, we got separated again, but just like we had to come to Ananda to meet, we'll meet at another Ananda, and we'll say, oh yeah, I remember you. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay. We are come together on an occasion of dual meaning, mixed with sadness and with joy. The sadness is ours now for the time. The joy is Anandi's, whose spirit is now risen. And in the words of the psalmist in the 23rd Psalm, they are those of Anandi now, for she is in the bosom of the Lord and can truly say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
The astral airplane of parting came to take my soul away from this earth. I wondered through what strange skies I would now soar, and to what lands I would travel. I asked the mystic pilot, cosmic law, whither I was to go. The silent one answered soundlessly, I am the pilot of life, mistakenly called the terrible death by ignorant earth folk. I am thy brother, uplifter, redeemer, friend, unloader of every gross burden of bodily troubles. I have come to fetch thee away from thy valley of broken dreams to the highlands of light where poisonous vapors of sorrow never rise. I have broken mercifully thy cage of flesh attachments, that thy soul bird may escape. I have broken thy chains of disease and fear. Thy long encasement behind bars of bones accustomed thee to thy little cage, making thee cling to it fearfully, even when I opened its door. Yet, in thy heart thou didst want thy freedom always. Why now art thou fear-filled, having won thy long-craved freedom? O bird of paradise, hop into my plane of omnipresence. Fold now thy fluttering wings and ride with me peacefully, anywhere, everywhere, in thine ethereal home.
Now we'll do a flower ceremony, and the white rose symbolizes life in God and the purity expression of the departed soul. Feel the purity of Anandi's soul and her life now awakened in God. And the red rose symbolizes the bouquet of love and goodwill from all of us. Please send your love and your gratitude and your goodwill to Anandi. And we'll give these roses to Bharat for his keeping. And now we'll light some incense. And the burning incense symbolizes the earth life of Anandi, which is gradually disappearing and finding its greater existence in spirit. Visualize her soul dissolving into the divine, ethereal oneness with God. Now I'll read the Astral Ascension ceremony, and please mentally feel like you are addressing these words to Anandi as well. Dear friend Anandi, you who have gone before us have entered a realm which our souls remember, a place of freedom, light, and laughter. Take with you on your journey our blessings and our love. We shall miss you. Our desire is not to hold you back, but only to tell you, friend, we are yours. Our love and support are ever yours, and our prayers for your highest happiness. We shall meet again. Once more we shall laugh together, rejoice together, and share in the joy of seeking Him. Claim your soul's freedom. Bless all who ever harmed you or wished you harm. Give them your love and your prayer for their freedom in God. Friend, cast from your heart all outward attachments. Realize that earthly goals, however shining, are but dreams. God is the only reality. Burn your earthly desires in the fire of wisdom. Burn earthly limitations in the blaze of inner freedom. Burn earthly disappointments in the flames of spreading peace. Burn earthly joys in the bonfire of divine bliss. See your physical form as a discarded garment. Clothed you now are in garments of radiant light. O free soul, see your past actions as scenes in a vast unfolding tapestry. Feast not your gaze wistfully on episodes already finished, but look ahead. New adventures await you, fresh joyous victories as you advance toward perfect freedom. And what of us, friend, who love you and would be remembered by you? Behold us as threads of light in the tapestry of your life, threads which, through the magnet of soul friendship, will appear ever and again, woven with increasing beauty as our hearts expand together in God's love. Divine Mother, receive this thy child. Purify her in thy perfect light and love. Grant her eternal freedom in thee. Om, peace. Amen. And now we invite you to watch 2 video presentations. The first is Anandi's interview that was a part of the Finding Happiness movie, and then a beautiful slideshow that Bhaktan put together.
There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. Leave home in the sunshine, dance through a meadow, or sit by a stream and just be. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. Men hunger for freedom but don't see their dungeon is only the thought that they're bound. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. There's joy all around us, why wait till tomorrow? We've only this moment to live. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air.
There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. Leave home in the sunshine, dance through a meadow, or sit by a stream and just be. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. Men hunger for freedom but don't see their dungeon is only the thought that they're bound. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. There's joy all around us, why wait till tomorrow? We've only this moment to live. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give.
Joy, 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 joy.
Let's close now with a prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Maharshaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. O Divine Mother, may thy light shine on the soul of Nayaswami Anandi as she leaves behind this earthly plane and moves into the realms of eternal light and joy. We thank you, Divine Mother, for giving us such friends to share a life in God with. And our only prayer for her is that she may know our love and yet our deepest wishes for her soul freedom. May she be one with thee forever. Om. Peace. Amen.
Let's send Anandi off on her new adventure with our love and our best wishes. Let's chant Om together 3 times.
On behalf of the 3 of us, we thank you for joining us, and may Anandi's blessings be on all of you.